Hello and welcome. We are the boys and we are back one more time, another round. Uh, my name is Juan, here with Mark and Kevin, and
Yep.
you are listening to We Like Movies. And
Sometimes.
right now, we are about to hit you with our takes on Kevin's selection, which was West Side Story, the 2021 version directed by Mr. Steven Spielberg and starring, what's this kid's name? Ansel? Engelbert? Or what is it?
Oh boy.
Ansel
Oh,
Elgort.
Elgort. Mhm.
And I know he had got in trouble about something around the time this movie was released because there was a big controversy. But
Oh,
anyway,
really? Did not know that.
yeah, this is a remake of the 1960s film based off of the Broadway musical that came out at some point before that. And yeah, you ought to know the story. This is also actually the musical is then therefore a version of Romeo and Juliet. So boy, this is the same story that just keeps getting regurgitated apparently. But yeah, it's the Jets versus the Sharks. The guy falls in love with the girl. They sing a bunch of songs, and then all this murdering starts happening. I mean, if you have not heard of this movie or seen some version of it since the time of Shakespeare, I don't know, you've been worse than living under a rock. But this time, Steven Spielberg has chosen to give us his take on it, and that's what we're here to talk about. So, Kevin, are you prepared to fire away?
I am more than prepared, sir. Y'all ready?
No.
Here we go. So let me start. Forgive my take on this. All right. I need silence, please. Thank you. This movie feels like a modern Spielberg movie, aesthetically, technical wise, and unfortunately story wise. As I watched West Side Story, my take on it started to become more about Spielberg than the movie itself, which to a degree is unfair. The movie itself had some highs and lows. It does a lot of things better than other contemporary movies that are similar, like Tick Tick Boom, which we'll talk about later. But ultimately, it's an uneven ride with some great performances, amazing shots, and set choices. But a failure to bring this story into a more modern tone leaves some characters feeling like caricatures and cartoony, which is a weird thing to say since West Side Story, like Juan said, is a modern take, at least for its time, of Romeo and Juliet. And this movie only goes to show and feed into Quentin Tarantino's belief that directors have a limited amount of great movies in them, and then they start a slow decline, just like a band that put out an album well past their prime. With all that said, though, a subpar Spielberg movie is better than most movies directors have to offer today, and that's my take. Mark?
All right, very good. I've never been a fan of this genre. When we discussed Tick Tick Boom, I was clear on that as well. So unfortunately, I had to sit through another uninteresting movie, but in typical Spielberg fashion, there was a lot of great things to see. There was a lot of scenes that I really thought, wow, that just came together very beautifully. It was a super clunky story, and hi, my name is living more than under a rock because I've never seen West Side Story. I've always heard about Jets and Sharks, but I wasn't sure if that was for Rent or for West Side Story.
No, but
So
you've watched or read Romeo and Juliet.
yes.
Okay, so there you go.
Okay. I thought you meant just West Side Story. Okay, no, Romeo and Juliet. Yes, and I've seen many movies about that story of Romeo and Juliet. So all right, cool. So I'm just under a rock. Nice. But yeah, it was Yeah, it didn't do anything for me. Um, I will say I was kind of disappointed in the choice because it was it was a task. It was a chore. And yeah, that's my hot five.
Dude, this was trash. I mean, you're being generous to Steven Spielberg. This is more than a decline. Like, there's something more going on here, where like this is a meteoric drop from a director, man. I mean, that last I was just looking through just to see, you know, um, he also had that Indiana Jones, that last Indiana Jones
Oh,
movie.
that
I
was a
mean,
hot steaming
dude,
pile.
to go from where this guy was at to like this, I mean, you know how directors say, when they finish a movie, it's in the can. This one ought to go in a different can, bro. To never to be looked upon again.
That's the
I
can he
mean,
was talking about, man. The trash can.
this it did, bro. This was so bad. Before this movie, I would say I was indifferent to West Side Story because I have seen the 1960s version. This actually made me hate the West Side Story because it's a poorly written play. It made me realize it's poorly written play. The songs are not that good. So it had the only thing is, as you guys already mentioned, some aesthetically pleasing choices, that obviously Steven Spielberg is a man with all the talent in the world, but no longer the vision or the inspiration or the contact, nothing, based off of this movie. Why they threw in there an androgynous or transgender character whose literal name in the credits in the cast is anybody's. That's the name of the character. Anybody's, plural. That's not even a word that you can make plural. Anybody's. What?
Wait, is that? I thought that was Baby John. No. Oh no,
Yeah,
I got confused.
I thought
No, it
that's
is
what.
it is anybody's. It is anybody's. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I was always confused. Oh, sorry. Continue. I don't want to interrupt
Sorry.
no,
your
Yeah.
and I
hot take.
mean, I just kept thinking about how Mark said, he hates when plays are just made into movie form. And I really would have appreciated like something done more creatively to like really, make this his own or bring it up into the times of today or something. But like, I mean, I get it. If you love West Side Story or even just Broadway musicals, I could see how you could say this was like a wonderful tribute to that play or something. But outside of that, I mean, it's just so ridiculous. I mean, the thing that was most impressive to me was how they could make these little dancing gentlemen, appear tough or even at least sound tough, by the way they're talking. But everything about it, I mean, I only maybe slightly perked up a little bit when the killing started to happen because I, I honestly like I didn't remember it that well, because on the 60s one is also so long. I fell asleep watching it. So I couldn't remember like who killed who or like how all that went down. So I perked up a little bit when that started happening, and also because I'm pretty sure that I've met Puerto Rican guys that looked exactly like that Chino character. So that was also interesting. Um, but man, I this was just horrifically bad. So much so that I'm like, before this, I was like, let me look through some reviews, look at some perspectives, see who agrees with me. I'm shocked. I'm shocked right now.
It was rated very high.
Dude, Rotten Tomatoes is like a 90 something percent. Look at what where did they go? Someone said like you'll need a box of tissues. I sure did because it was so bad. Like, bro, I'm like,
I wonder what the tissues are for.
and like Kevin was said, I really hope at this point that Steven Spielberg just stops. Like just retire.
No, isn't he doing the next Indiana Jones?
No,
Yes.
he's actually not. No.
Oh, he's not. I thought he
He
was.
finally passed it off.
No, yeah, he's not doing it, and George Lucas is not writing. So it's the first time without any of those.
Oh boy. All right.
So it might be good this time.
Oh,
But
I mean, I would
yeah,
thank him if it means never having to see something like this again. But anyway, Kevin, you've found some redeemable qualities, so why don't
I
you,
have.
you know,
First of all, like, while you did say the writing was not that best, I like the line, "the womb to tomb, sperm to worm." I thought it was a fantastic line. I was like, that's a great line. But but I did like the like I did.
it's a 2.5 hour movie. You're gonna tell me that
Yes,
that
yes,
that
yes.
line won you over to the entire script.
Listen, I literally, my opening was no. I, like I said, story wise, unfortunately, it's a modern Spielberg movie. But I did like that. And who doesn't like a jump? You know, a little well placed spin jump or kick or dance fighting. Come on,
Okay.
like
Go
okay, go
ahead.
ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. No,
No,
no.
what I did like about, like, even the bridge scene when they're fighting for the gun and stuff. I'm like, what I liked about it was the camera didn't just stay there and watch them. It actually did push in a little, get close, and move around them.
Yeah.
Again, but everything I'm going to talk about that I liked about it, I feel it's Spielberg being propped up by the people he chose to help him on the movie, like the cinematographer and the set designer and stuff like that. It's not, and I guess he gets credit for picking those people, but it's not really, it's not really him, you know, who's bringing out like the stuff I like in the movie. Like, oh, I'm looking at my notes now. Almost everything is not Spielberg. It's the people he hired that helped him.
They're
Like,
the
sorry, go
people
ahead.
around him are the strings of his movieless marionette body, and they're
Yeah.
just pulling the strings.
Yeah, honestly, one of the things that I was thinking though, because you brought up, the choreography or some of these other individuals that were at work in this film, I was comparing this to, for me, what is one of the, well, it's original, but one of the best musicals put on film of, let's say the last, you know, decade at least, is La La Land. And at least in the opening scene of La La Land, where it's this whole choreographed thing with like dozens of extras on a freeway that they like had to stop for so many hours in the day, like, and they shot it like, I'm pretty sure it was one take. So for me, like, that is impressive. Even though I'm don't know much about dancing, but I could see that there was probably a lot of skill involved in the dancing in this movie. For me, it's less impressive when, if someone messes up, you just do another take, and I think this is part of maybe what Mark was arriving at, when he made it that point previously in Tick Tick Boom, which is why I think it's at least again in this particular instance, because they didn't really, I don't really think they took advantage of what the platform of cinema, because I'm even thinking to movies like this that I have enjoyed, like Chicago, or Moulin Rouge,
Yeah,
and
I will say every set or every scene felt like we were looking at a real live play that was recorded, because
yeah,
nothing stood out. But I do think the camera work is what helped it. The lighting is what helped it. But
Yeah.
everything felt like high school quality.
yeah, but
It,
yeah, exactly. I totally agree, and I think all it did was like make it look pretty. So all it did was polish a turd.
there's your saying again. Like, no, I agree with you. It all looks staged. And like, did any of y'all see In the Heights or no?
I tried to, and I had to shut it off after like 10 minutes.
I didn't even try to.
No, because culturally there's a lot of similarities, but like they both take place in New York, and I think that's what I kept comparing even the sets to. I'm like, man, I wish it was a little bit more modern, because it does look like it's all on a set and they're just dancing around a set.
Mm-hmm.
But I agree with Mark, like the camera pushing, the lighting, all that stuff, I thought was great. And again, like, I'm not a big fan of La La Land. I actually watched it not that long ago, and I don't see why everyone loved it. I liked more like The Greatest Showman, you know what I mean, which wasn't necessarily done in one take, but it's a phenomenal, like, ensemble piece. And like I said, like, I didn't have a problem with the dancing. I thought the dancing was, for the most part, was crisp, even if someone messed up and they had to redo it. Like I said, like, I think the cameras what kept me flowing with it, because it just didn't stay static. So at least on that part, that's what I liked about it. It didn't bother me as much. But I do agree with y'all saying that it does look like everything's staged on the set. which is like, eh.
Well, again, I think while maybe, the fact that we are sitting here in 2022 and we already know that, like, cinema and filmmaking has advanced so much, a lot of it because of Steven Spielberg, which is the irony. Like what Mark is saying, that it all looks like, what you guys are saying, that it all looks like a set. It all looks like you're watching a high school play. To me, it's like they wasted an opportunity here, where even in La La Land, right? I mean, there's another shot that I can think of. It's in a house with a pool, where like there's this one take, this shot where someone jumps in the pool, the camera follows him, submerges down into the pool, then comes back up, and now there's dancers surrounding the pool. Now the camera is like panning all around it. It's incredible. And this movie, like, while the lighting was pretty, or a certain shot, like, it still didn't have it, except maybe like for the opening shot, which I think was an overhead, which then came down, but it was still just an overhead of like slums and bricks and dirt and garbage. And I mean, so moving away from that a little bit, again, like I said, the story, because there's something in this story overall, even back to Romeo and Juliet, which is something that I feel like has created a major issue with young people, which is this whole, like, falling in love, what do they call it? Love at first sight type of thing, which even like, what I loved about Baz Luhrmann's Romeo and Juliet, starring Leonardo DiCaprio, was that it gave flesh to these characters. Like, you actually saw a almost a modern version of Romeo, where like you understood, maybe that he was this player, and that he like felt, became infatuated with this girl. Like, there was some what's the word here, dimensions. There were more dimensions to this character. With this, like, they were, as Kevin has mentioned before, particularly these characters were so two-dimensional. I mean, he said they were even like cartoony, like caricatures. They had no depth. This guy, we have no idea why he is so smitten with this girl. All we know is that he spent a year in prison. And are these high school students? Like, why are they at a high school dance? But then this guy spent a year, and like, it was so confusing. I mean, is that right? Are they supposed to be high school students, all of them, including the boxer that looks like a 40-year-old man?
I will say my first notes were, wait, they're in high school? Question mark. When it got to the scene in the gym with the dance, I was like, what the heck? When did this happen? I have no idea.
I think they said Maria was 19, I believe. So I don't think they're in high school.
But the
she was working. She worked at Gimbel's.
I know, like, it didn't seem like it. Like, it seemed like it was like a community thing, because they're like, but it was definitely like a school-sponsored event.
See, and I think that's where it lost, because it still had the setting of 1957, and I could believe that maybe in 1957 you're like, hey, there's a dance at the school gym that, for the community. You know what I mean? Like, that's why it was a little off-putting, because we can't recognize that today. It's like 60-something years later. And it did seem like just like it was a community dance, and that's why her brother was a lot older than her and all this stuff. And everybody was just there.
How old was he? I have no idea how old he was.
I don't know. I guess,
but he did seem older.
He looked about 30 years old.
He did, and I guess he's the one that was supporting the fan. Like, it was just the two of them. What happened to their parents?
I don't know. I don't know if they were the parents.
No, her dad died, because she said we were just doing fine until, me and Poppy were just doing fine until he passed away, and I had to come live with you. She said something like that. It was like a little line. So that's why she was living with him and his girlfriend. Which was Anita.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I will say, like, since Juan mentioned, like, one of my notes were like, after just meeting, they're gonna run away the next day. I'm all for love at first sight, but this ain't healthy.
Yeah, and like they didn't even have a full day. They had a moment under the bleachers,
which was a very weird scene. I actually liked the whole gym scene up until they went into the bleachers. I thought it was shot really well with all the amount of people they had moving around at once, and how the
It had some good
cameras just
energy.
focus on them, and it was kind of like the calm and the storm. But I liked the way it was shot. But then they went into the bleachers, and he was like very aggressive, and it was weird. The arms standing out. It seemed like they were doing I guess they were supposed to be doing like a mating call dance. I don't know, but that bleacher scene killed the gym, like that, all the dancing, because I was just like, oh, what's wrong with him? I wish he didn't meet her. But yeah, it was very awkward on that bleacher scene.
Yeah, because I thought it was gonna be better because like even when they meet each other and there's all the action going and it's all quiet, you just see them two looking at each other through it all.
Yeah,
I was like, all right, this is gonna be something good, and then literally you just throw away everything else, and they're just like you couldn't hear the music anymore in the background. It just became them two, became dimly lit. I'm like the spotlight. I'm like, all right, well,
it was like a date in an Italian restaurant.
yeah. And then they went around, they left the bleachers, and all of a sudden, bam! Hey, what are you doing with my sister?
Yeah, it was a very interesting scene.
And as I think about it, so because this really, I was thinking about this a little bit, right? Because while this is, a romance, a tragic romance, which is what Shakespeare, Romeo and Juliet was, and it played out within the larger context of, the senseless hate, between these two families, and they're trying to translate that here into, Jets and Sharks, Puerto Ricans, versus white people, even though they're all poor, they all live in the same neighborhood. But it's like, again, because and I could see that they're trying to make a point, like, well, it's senseless to just hate someone, for the skin color of their skin, or because of their ethnicity, or, again, I'm glad at least one character pointed out that it was like, Puerto Ricans are American. So I mean, it's so stupid, but it was also like it's so like a high horse and like judgmental, and like just saying like, this is wrong, so don't think this way, or like, don't, can't you see, that's why we're showing you this, like, this is, but like, the people watching this movie don't think that way, and what I'm trying to say is that, like, to hate someone, merely because of like the color of their skin or whatever, it's such a uneducated, like, idiotic, thing to do. And I get maybe some educated people do that, but for the most part, I mean, I feel like and I think this is not sounding right, but it just was very, what's kind of like preachy, without allowing me to like actually relate or like see myself to the point where like I could connect, or even, you know, Mark, are you laughing?
No, I'm not laughing.
Oh,
I'm just, I hear what you're saying.
no, I thought you were laughing because I'm trying to see myself in
No,
the movies, but
what I think it is even though racism still exists today, it's like we understand it's more nuanced than just like, hey, I
exactly.
hate you because you're that, and I'm this. But no, it could be more nuanced, like, hey, they're trying to replace us, they're trying to be better, you know what I mean? Or
Yeah.
just feelings of inadequacy. Like none of that was portrayed here. It was just like, you're not me, so I hate you.
Yeah, or nuance to the point of like, maybe yes, I do hate you for the skin of your color, but my thinking that leads me to that is, because of my upbringing or my trauma or my past or this one incident, it's very
Yeah.
seldom, and it's a taught behavior, right? And a taught mentality. So it's just yeah, it's very off-putting
It
to
is,
kind of.
because it was a lot of hate. Like it
Mhm.
was just right off the bat hate, and it was, I mean, it to the point where they wanted to kill each other. They were flat out like, "Oh yeah, well, what weapons are we bringing?" Like they had intentions of killing. Um, which all I really have to talk about is at the end of the movie, because that just came out of nowhere. I literally
Mhm.
sat up and I was like, "Oh!" Because I was not expecting any of that.
Mhm.
Oh, really? No, because I was gonna say like because Mark mentioned the end. I'm like and I don't know which part you're talking about, but I felt like I'm guessing the gun part. Like I feel like when the gun was introduced, like it was just sitting like a nuke over the whole story. I'm like, it's gonna explode somewhere. We just have to figure out when it's gonna happen.
No, it started with the first killing. I wasn't expecting that.
Okay.
Yeah, and like
Bernardo, but you have to understand. I don't, I wasn't. I didn't. I didn't put Romeo and Juliet in this as like the same story.
yeah, well, but even
I'm not a smart man.
again, even the elevation to that level of violence, it's so disconnected. Like, if you want to look at a really good interpretation of senseless hate and violence with a lot of context and whatnot, watch Green Street Hooligans, right? Where there's violence and it's very tragic and you see the effects of it, but you can also make the connection of how an individual arrives at that place, from their setting, their upbringing, all of these things. This was, like Mark said very accurately, like they're gonna rumble. Okay, you can see they're gonna go and throw fists, and beat each other up. All of a sudden, because they even, like, when they're not necessarily fighting, they're kind of like joking with each other,
Yeah.
or like, right, they're like not turning each other.
There's
That
too much
cop,
dance fighting.
yeah, they're like not turning the other guy in to the cop, who like stabbed him in the ear with the nail, so they're but then, and all of a sudden he's like, no, but I'm gonna bring a knife, and I'm gonna bring a gun. It's like, what? Like, how did it escalate to that point?
Right.
That cop character, both both the detective and like the one cop that was like pointing the finger, that was like stereotypical, like
Yeah.
dad or whatever, like just being these annoying kids, and like, oh my god, dude, it was so annoying.
Kids, so maybe they were high schoolers, and we were
No, that
supposed to
wasn't a
believe they
direct.
were.
That wasn't a direct line from the movie.
These daggum kids.
But that was basically what his character was.
Yeah, no,
Officer
pretty much.
Krumke or whatever.
Yeah.
They had a whole song about him.
I forgot about it. No, I really wasn't expecting the actual stabbing to happen. I thought it was going to be like more play fighting and a different resolution. So when that happened, I was kind of startled by it, like, whoa. And then it was very funny to me that Maria was very quickly forgiving of Tony for killing her brother.
I think it turned her on.
No. She had about 10 seconds of like grief, and how could you do that? But gone instantly.
Her brother's death led to her little death,
and it was just it was baffling to me. But then here we go, fast forward when Chino kills Tony, Valentina is upset, and then poof, hey, you know what? It's okay. You just got to get out of here. You just got to go.
Yeah.
And I'm like, holy smokes, she was very forgiving as well. Wow, I guess maybe they are all. Maybe this violence is so often they're used to it, but I wouldn't have known that with all the play fighting they've been doing for 2.5 hours. But man, it was great. It was just incredible how quickly it was all forgotten.
They all just picked up Tony and then walked around that corner.
Let's sit on this. Let's sit on this for a second.
All right, I'm sitting.
This guy stabs her brother, shows up through her window with her brother's blood still on him.
Fresh.
She freaks out for a minute, then sleeps with him. The next day, wakes up. Do you know what you don't smell? The smell of my brother cooking breakfast in the kitchen because you murdered him, right? But then she's like, no, stay in bed. Don't go. Like, hey, do you know why you're alone in the house? Because your brother's dead and you just slept with the guy that killed him. Like, this is so
So
ridiculous.
here's a line that absolutely floored me. I thought it was incredible. It was so funny to me. She literally goes, Valentina says, when it comes to love, there's no right or wrong. Dead. I was dead. I said, that's perfect. That is incredible. That sums everything up beautifully.
Mm-hmm. And honestly, like, it's hilarious, but like, whether Romeo and Juliet or the 60s version or so many other movies, even Taylor Swift songs and Olivia Rodrigo and like all this crap that contribute to like this falsehood, which, hello, is the reason why there's so much divorce, is the reason why, you know, or one of the contributors, right, to the destruction of the nuclear family and like all of these things. It's like, because of this crap that Disney and, you know, Broadway and Hollywood like push on people, you know, maybe naively, or maybe, I don't know why, you know, at times. Certainly I could understand it if it was like an 18-year-old writing this play, you know, because at 18, yeah, sure, you're quickly to like give in to those you know, feelings and those notions and those illusions or whatever. But like at 30, 35, 40, 45 years old, yeah, you're still romanticizing this crap. It's
Maybe
like,
that was a bucket list item for him. He's just reminiscing about what he couldn't do. He wishes he could have, you know, got married at 18, run away somewhere. Well, I don't know how old they were. I'm not sure if they were 28 or if they were 18. Hell, if they were 16, what do I know?
Yeah, and the writer of the screenplay was 65. Just to let y'all know.
Yeah, I don't know.
dude, and cherry on top, this was nominated for Best Picture. Nominated for Best Picture.
It won the Golden Globe for Best Motion Picture Musical or Comedy.
What was it? I got to see what it was up against. The competition must have been really lackluster.
I mean, Nightmare Alley, Dune.
Well, I don't know if that was up for Golden Globe Musical or Comedy.
Yeah,
Golden Globe, no. But oh, hold on, actually,
accolades, right? Hold on, I'm looking this up because Golden Globe, Belfast.
Oh, here it goes. No, musical or comedy was West Side Story, Cyrano, Don't Look Up, Licorice Pizza, and Tick Tick Boom.
Oh, Tick Tick Boom should have won. The songs were at least catchy in Tick Tick Boom.
Yeah.
I actually like the music in this one better than I liked in Tick Tick Boom.
You're crazy. You know what? Tick Tick Boom felt more like a New York movie than this one did.
I will tell you that, yes, because it was more modern New York.
No,
a little connection.
Need to be modern, because even when they were outside, New York's outside still been the same for years now.
A little connection to Tick Tick Boom. You know who wrote the lyrics to this West Side Story?
Yeah, I know, Stephen Sondheim.
Stephen Sondheim, who we learned about in Tick Tick Boom.
But like, where in New York, whether in the 50s or today, are there just heaps and heaps and heaps and heaps of rubble?
Yeah,
in 1957, they had to break them down.
Well, why? Pictures. That was like so that wasn't like from a war or something?
No, those were like those the places, like the slums where like a lot of people lived cheaply and they wanted to build new buildings over them.
Oh, okay. So they were getting evicted. So that's why they were living underground.
Like your New York City is built on the bones of these buildings.
Yeah. All right.
So yes. I'll say that.
Wow.
I mean, to his credit, I will say Ansel Elgort or Engort or whatever. It sounded like he did his own singing. I didn't know he could sing.
He has an album, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I believe so.
Are you sure you're not thinking about somebody else?
No.
Baby Driver, baby. Yeah, he does have his own album.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. So he could sing. That girl, I mean, I wasn't surprised she could sing.
She's Colombian.
She is?
Yeah. I want to throw that in there.
Interesting. That's
go ahead.
I love this movie now, by the way. No,
best Colombian movie ever.
As if. But no, man, I had heard good things, and I want to say that I began with an open mind. Because again, it is Steven.
I don't know about that. I don't know about that. When I
I
mentioned it, you're
mean,
like, oh, brother.
Semi open.
I mean, even if I have, certain biases or, prejudices, based on things I hear, we follow movies and directors. So we pick up, on certain things. And so I still it's still not rare for you to go into a movie like that and then be completely surprised, and won over. So I'm never that close-minded that I'm just like, I'm gonna hate, I hate this. I'd give it a chance, but it didn't take long before it was just like, nope, this ain't happening.
The door is cracked. The door is cracked.
Yeah.
Well, I'm ready to lay down this interesting number.
I mean,
Well, I have a couple more points, but Juan.
Oh, go for it.
no, I mean, I was just gonna maybe, I really was just gonna look at Steven Spielberg some more.
Check him.
And
Somebody check him. Make sure he's okay.
Like I said, it took a lot for me to move my notes away from being a commentary on Steven Spielberg and actually trying to focus on West Side Story, the movie.
Yeah.
Because everything kept coming back to oh man, what are you doing, Steven? You know what I mean? But I did have to focus. I'm like, all right, let me look at the movie instead of what he's coming up short in, because this is not a review on Spielberg, it's a review on West Side Story. One thing I had a question, was that a rape scene? When they were all
they were trying to.
And again, but they made it seem like it had actually happened or something. But and again, I may be desensitized because we've seen rape scenes in some movies we reviewed, and I was
I think they were getting to that.
Yeah, no, I think I just took it as even to be in a situation where 20 guys are trying to rape you, and even if it stopped at the last minute, I mean, that's still horrifically traumatic.
Yeah.
So I just took it as she's just very traumatized that she was even in that situation. Unfortunately, because I mean, at the end of the day, it's a popular movie directed by Steven Spielberg. I don't think he's just gonna throw a rape scene in there,
I did like that they had the white girls trying to defend her. It was like, hey man, just let her go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that was better than just saying, yeah, rape her.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, she's Puerto Rican.
Who cares?
Jeez.
I did want to say, I said, again, for us, we may have seen a lot of movies. I watched this with, I think Harley wanted to watch it with me, and she the death scene when Maria confronted her brother, about Tony about her brother's death and everything. She was Harley was crying. She was oh, he died, and she was crying. I think Phoenix made a comment why are you crying? I was it's okay. She can feel, man. She's 8. You know what I mean? And I think that it may have elevated the movie a little bit in my mind because I got to watch it with her, and we talked about some stuff about death and crying, and that it's okay, however you feel about a movie. But again, right afterwards, we have them waking up in bed together. I'm like, it seems a little off, buddy.
Yeah.
So this is a kids movie.
I also love how there is a potential rape. There's violence there, and then the warning that we get before the movie is about cigarette smoke.
Society.
I forgot about that. That was pretty funny.
As I was, go ahead, finish.
Oh, go ahead. No, as you were saying.
No, go ahead.
All right, because I told you I wrote tons of notes here.
I'm all ears.
The one character that I wish they would have expanded more on was Riff. Because even when Tony says, oh, the world's always been against him, that's just the way he is, he's not that bad. I'm but we didn't get any of that. We just got this 2D, hey, he's doing these bad things.
Mm-hmm.
And if they would have, I guess, informed us more about his relationship with Tony, about even because we saw Bernardo's relationship with his sister, with Maria and all that. We got to see all that. We didn't really see a lot of Tony. So again, it may have shocked Mark, but when he died, I was all right. And then Tony gets mad. I was well, you're just telling us he's supposed to be mad. Like, I didn't really feel that. Like, I wish they would have, again, because I thought he was a decent character. I'm like, oh, we could have learned more about, which may have not been in the play, but they could have expanded on and like said, hey, we're gonna take this little route and show you a little more about him.
Because it's a movie and not a play, but they approached it like a damn play.
I agree, and I agree about that because whether it was on the page that way or it was just the actor's performance, to me, Riff was a far more interesting and intriguing character than Tony was. Even with the little they gave us, there was already more layers and more depth to him, and maybe credit to him, and maybe it was just the way that he portrayed him. But I agree with that. Go on.
All right, go on. Thank you. Allow me. There was the shot which was during the Maria song, like the light, the shadows, the set was great, but the shot was when he walked in the middle of that puddle and there's those water rippling light all around him. I thought it was a brilliant shot, and I read that it was a last-minute suggestion by a cinematographer, and it literally was the last thing they shot on the last day of filming. But I don't know if y'all remember that shot, but that shot was amazing.
I think I remember it.
Like he's looking up at Maria, and he just walks, and you see all these little ripples of light. And I just wanted to mention that because, again, like I said, these things did stick out to me. But again, now we're talking about stuff that I don't think was Spielberg's had anything to do except okaying it.
Mm-hmm.
And then you mentioned earlier the beginning with that big sweeping shot,
mm-hmm.
In the city, and it comes in really tight. Well, at first I thought, I'm like, all right, that's fine, that's a Spielbergian thing. And while I really hated them all just like, hey, we're gonna pick up Tony, and then hey, the Puerto Ricans join in and just walk off. I think it's juxtaposed by the final shot being they're pulling away from the street, and then it's pulling out until it fades out, which I think it looks like, hey, I do like the book ending of that because it looks like we just went into like this little moment in their lives and then pulled out, which, like I said, which was, again, just was something I just wanted to mention because it was a note, and you mentioned earlier. I was like, all right. And then, I don't know if y'all caught that, but I did.
No, I mean, I was just so ready for it to be over. Yeah.
So you didn't see the credits with the like sats and the shadows? I like that too. It felt really eerie after the death.
Oh no, man!
With what?
That first name, I was
like,
out.
Like the credits, like they kept showing different scenes, like, but they were like, it was like the set was almost abandoned. It was just showing like shadows and like the balcony and this and that, like stuff that they had where they had been, like the store, and it had a very eerie feeling to it because there was just the death and it was just this sound playing over it. And while the names were coming up, you just saw the shadows moving over stuff. It was pretty nice credits.
It was showing how shallow their sets were.
Yeah. That's it. Nobody wanted to be on the end. And then I did like that Rita Moreno, who played Valentina, was also in the original movie as Anita. And those were my notes.
I mean,
I didn't know that.
Tell me when you hear a good movie. I'm just gonna go down in reverse chronological order here. Before West Side Story, Ready Player One.
I like Ready Player One.
What?
Hey, you asked him to tell you when he heard a good movie.
It was a good popcorn flick. I mean,
I've only seen it once. Popcorn flicks, man.
I've only seen it once. All right.
Weren't you saying something about picking corn out of crap one time or something and eating it?
Fine, continue.
The Post, the BFG, Bridge of Spies. Now, Lincoln, I did not see.
I heard Lincoln was amazing.
I heard Daniel Day-Lewis was amazing as Lincoln.
So more strings on the puppet.
War Horse, The Adventures of Tintin.
I like that one.
Okay.
Okay, we're not talking about. Sorry. I was about to go into that movie, but we're not doing that. Sorry, continue.
Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
I hated that one.
Munich was it had some good things.
Pretty good. Yeah.
It had a really weird ending.
It did.
In the middle.
But it was intense. It was, I felt like,
War of the Worlds. The Terminal.
I enjoyed War of the Worlds.
Mark, don't be ashamed. You speak up. If you liked it, you liked it.
Okay, but no, it's okay. You again. It
So
was
I
good
say I
popcorn
like
flick.
3 movies so far.
And just like them. I mean, but compare that to the first 3 Indiana Jones or Hook or Jurassic Park or Saving
Yeah.
Private Ryan.
Hey.
Like,
You stop before Catch Me If You Can.
I was gonna say, Catch Me If You Can is next, and then my favorite of his 2000s movies, Minority Report.
No.
Minority
Really?
Report is awesome. Yeah, it's a great movie.
All
Very.
right.
Cruise.
That was a vision. That was a visionary movie.
It was. No, that was awesome. The precog stuff
So,
was, yeah.
But you like that better than Catch Me If You Can, though? I love Catch Me If You Can.
Yes.
Yeah. Catch Me If You Can for me, it's not that great.
Oh, it's so awesome. It's like a little mouse just churning butter. Come on, let's keep churning. All right, keep going.
Yeah. No. That's pretty much it right there. I mean, as you can see, I mean, there's a lot of duds there. I mean, why is he doing it? Is it just for the, and what happened? Like, what happened to his vision? What happened to his creativity? I mean, this guy was like he was breaking ground. You know, he was incredible.
Like he had a run like Indiana Jones: The Last Crusade, Hook, Jurassic Park, Schindler's List.
Yeah.
We skipped like Lost World, but Amistad, Saving Private Ryan, which I think is my favorite Spielberg movie.
I don't think he
But-
even mentioned. I mean, E.T., Jaws, Close Encounters.
Yeah, he had like this huge run. I'm like, dang.
I mean, he was like, for me, he like defined a part of my like childhood, like an era of my life was like Steven Spielberg at the top. And
Yeah.
now it's just like, dude, you don't got it anymore. You know,
Somebody has to tell him, Papa, no more.
well, they're gonna keep giving him money because he's Steven Spielberg.
Well, yeah.
But
And he keeps getting nominated for awards.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I mean,
and
yeah. How do you not ask the guy who just made a movie that was
Yeah.
nominated for 11 awards not come back and make a movie?
right. I mean, as much as I don't want Quentin Tarantino to be done after his next movie, I mean, I can't think of a better argument than Steven Spielberg's career. It's like Quentin knows what he's doing, man. Let him go.
Yeah.
Let him go. We can always rewatch him,
Yeah.
you know. But ain't nobody gonna be rewatching freaking the BFG. You know?
Mark, wait, what were you gonna say about Adventures of Tintin?
Oh, that movie was like, I felt like that's how it would feel if I was taking LSD. It was so colorful and so fast paced that like I'm pretty sure by the end of it I had pissed myself a little bit. But I enjoyed it because it was just like Mach G. It starts and boom, like going and faster and faster and faster until it ended. And yeah, it was just intense. Like I feel like my heart was pumping that whole movie.
I accept that. That's good.
I don't know why. It was just the animation that just visually it was a lot. Not that it was bad because I enjoyed it, but yeah, for something it just did something to me.
It's just overloading your senses.
Yeah.
I was looking because I thought he did that one Christmas movie with Tom Hanks, the animated one.
The Polar
The
Express.
Polar Express?
But was that Robert Zemeckis?
Yeah, it was
I
Robert.
believe so.
That was
I
yeah.
Bobby
gonna say,
Zemeck.
'cause Spielberg's Jewish, so I don't know.
That'll do it.
I kind of thought for a second. Anyway, all right,
Spielberg's next movie. It's gonna be a Christmas movie.
I'm done, man. Just so you guys know, for this episode, I'm wearing all black for Steven Spielberg's career.
Oh boy! All right.
Well, Spielberg's next movie is the Fablemans, and it's written by the same guy who wrote West Side Story with him. So that's yeah.
What did he write? What did he write?
Tony Kushner?
You said Steven Spielberg wrote it? He
Well,
co-wrote it?
Well, he co-writes his stuff. Yeah.
They had to make it for screen, bro. They wrote it for the theater, like for the movie screen.
Did you telling me that Steven Spielberg has a writing credit on West Side Story?
Well, let me see. I know the Fablemans he does, but let me see.
Nah.
Writing credit. Hold on the Fablemans he
No,
does. It says co-writer.
writers
Yeah,
is
Fableman.
Tony Kushner screenplay
Yeah,
based on Arthur Lorentz
yeah.
stage play.
Okay.
Look,
So
on the
yeah, Tony
Fablemans.
Kushner did something.
Yeah. No, on Fablemans it says written by Steven Spielberg and Tony Kushner. It says from a screenplay he co-wrote with Kushner on the next movie.
All right.
Yeah.
It's based up on it's based on his Spielberg's childhood growing up in post-war Arizona from the age 7 to 18.
Yeah,
Mhm.
apparently he's producing a remake of The Color Purple, which I mean, why?
Because
the original's already a classic.
Yeah, because he directed it, but he felt that it could have been better if it was someone of color who directed it.
Oh, of course.
That's why he's doing a remake.
Well, and you guys will be happy. Is that for real? Like, you read that?
Yeah, no, I really did. That's why, because when he was doing Schindler's List, he realized that, you know what, there's things that he couldn't put in The Color Purple that he thinks someone of color could have.
Ridiculous. All right, and you'll be happy to know he's producing Real Steel 2.
I love Real Steel 1.
Wow, and an untitled third Tintin film, Mark. And
Well, they haven't made the second one. It's still in development as well.
and Gremlins 3.
My heart's already pounding thinking about Tintin 3, man. I haven't even experienced 2 yet.
We better go. This guy's got to get some sleep tonight. He's not going to be able to if he keeps talking about Tintin.
I just got my adrenaline rush.
All right. Does Kevin have to start or do? Or...
No, Kevin, yeah.
No, Kevin. Okay. So I will say, so this rating is going to be based on West Side Story, the movie, not the director Steven Spielberg. And I'm going to give it a 2 because it's mediocre. It's just mid, but I think a lot of the people around Spielberg did a really great job, and the movie itself has some elements that weren't bad. Again, it may be a little bit more elevated because I watched it with my daughter and has those moments, but I said there's stuff in the movie that I think I thought was done really well. Overall, like, I don't know if I would suggest it for anyone to watch, but I'm just going to give it a 2.
Dude, Harley's 8?
She's 8.
Man, I commend her her attention span. She sat through this for 2.5 hours.
Yeah. Now, it may have been that she just wanted to do something with Daddy, and she does love watching movies and musicals. Yeah. But we sat there and watched it, and she teared up. She was feeling all the emotes.
Okay.
Impressive. I'll go next. I hated absolutely every second of it. I was terribly bored. I saw where, I guess now that I'm realizing it had nothing to do with Spielberg, but I saw where Spielberg shined. There were some scenes that were nice to look at, but the story was just, I felt like the story was going somewhere, and then they just said, let's just throw in some deaths and murder and call it a day. And yeah, I guess that was the most thrilling part of the movie, and I enjoyed that. I guess I enjoyed the dark part. I guess there's something wrong with me. I'm only giving this one little Jerry. I'm sad that I even gave any time to this, but alas, this is what we have to do.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much that I can add to that. Those are pretty much my feelings exactly. It's a 0 for me. 0 for me. With 2 thumbs down. -5 stars. I mean, all the bad stuff. 0 Rotten Tomatoes. Like, it's bad.
Tough.
Bad.
All right. So it's a 0, 1, and 2.
That's it.
Yeah, 0s and 1s.
All right. Well, that's it.
But
for
you
me,
will.
Guys.
I will leave you with this, which I know you will be pleased to know. That remake of The Color Purple will be a musical.
Oh my goodness.
So I thought you'd enjoy that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So other than that, it's been fun.
I was gonna say something, bro, and I just decided to go with rather than say what I was gonna say.
Perfect. Oh man! All right. Well, love you guys.
It's been
It's
real.
been another great week. Love you. Mwah.
Peace out.